Hey folks, let me tell you about a decision I wrestled with last week. I was scrolling through a ton of cheap thermal cameras that promised instant leak detection for a few bucks, only to see endless comments about blurry images, dead batteries after a day, and apps that freeze the moment you try to zoom in. That kind of buyer's remorse is what makes me hesitate before throwing money at any new gadget. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. When I started looking into a serious tool for home inspection work, I realized the cheap options were really just glorified phone attachments. They can spot a hotspot, sure, but they don't give you the confidence you need when you're standing on a ladder telling a homeowner there's a hidden pipe leak. That's why I dug deeper into the Protimeter BLD7714 Ti Thermal Survey Kit, which bundles the Surveymaster moisture meter with the SeekShot Pro thermal camera. The idea is to have one handheld that does both moisture testing and thermal imaging, something that's been a niche for pros for years. First off, who actually needs a kit like this? If you're a licensed home inspector, a building envelope consultant, or a seasoned DIYer who routinely tackles basement waterproofing, roof repairs, or HVAC troubleshooting, the combination of accurate moisture readings and a high-resolution thermal view is a genuine time-saver. The Surveymaster has been around for decades and is still the go-to dual-function meter for many pros. Pair that with the SeekShot Pro, a camera that can resolve temperature differences down to 0.1 C and capture video at 30 frames per second, and you have a tool that can not only locate a hidden water intrusion but also document it for a client report. On the flip side, if you're just looking to spot a draft in your living room or you need a quick glance at your HVAC vents once a year, you'll probably end up paying for features you never use. A smartphone attachment that hooks up to a free app can handle those casual checks, and it'll cost a fraction of the kit's price. In short, the Protimeter bundle is built for people who need reliability day in and day out, not for occasional hobbyists. Let's talk about real-world performance. I took the kit to a friend's older home that was suffering from mysterious damp spots on the lower level. The Surveymaster's dual-function probe gave me instant moisture readings that were consistent across 3 different spots, confirming the problem wasn't a surface-only issue. Switching to the SeekShot Pro, I was able to see a clear thermal gradient around the baseboard, where the temperature dropped about 5°F compared to the surrounding wall. That contrast was enough to pinpoint a failing seal around a pipe that was hidden behind the drywall. The camera's on-screen palette was easy to switch from rainbow for quick visual clues to blackbuddy when I needed precise temperature numbers for a report. It didn't require me to fumble through nested menus, the most common settings were right on the front dial. Battery life is a common pain point with thermal cameras. The SeekShot Pro runs on a single rechargeable lithium-ion pack that, according to my own testing, kept the device alive through a full day of inspections, roughly 8 hours of intermittent use. I didn't notice any drop in frame rate or image quality as the battery depleted, which is a relief when you're on a job site without easy access to a power outlet. The Surveymaster, on the other hand, uses replaceable AA batteries, which I found handy because you can swap them out in the middle of a job without waiting for a charge. Low-light behavior is another area where cheap thermal cameras often stumble. The SeekShot Pro sensor is sensitive enough to produce usable images in dim basements or attic spaces where you're relying on ambient light only. The image stayed crisp enough to read temperature numbers without having to turn on the built-in LED floodlight, which can sometimes skew readings. That said, the camera does have a modest built-in LED that can be toggled for when you need a bit more visual context. It's not as bright as a handheld torch, but it's sufficient for most indoor scenarios. One practical weakness I noticed is the weight. The combined kit feels solid, but it's a bit heftier than a typical single-function thermal camera you might find on the market. When you're moving from room to room with a ladder, the extra ounces can become noticeable after a few hours. It's not a deal-breaker for professionals who expect a little extra heft for durability, but it's something to keep in mind if you value ultralight gear. Another nuance is the lens ecosystem. The SeekShot Pro comes with a fixed lens that's optimized for the temperature range most building inspections encounter, roughly -20 C to 250 C. If you ever need to zoom in on a very distant heat source, say a roof vent on a large commercial building, you'll find the field of view a bit restrictive. For most residential and small commercial work, however, the standard field of view is more than adequate. Now, let's address the price-to-value equation.